So welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to the last session of the year. We have a lot of people coming in, I hope. We had like 380 or something registrations, which is really cool for like a session like this, talking about engineering, talking about smart engineering. And so we have like 29 people now in. So typically, let's say 10 to 15% of the registration show up, which means like, let's give it like 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever minutes to make people join. I just made Sat the co-host, so she can take care about
Yes.
and I can concentrate on the content. I hope that you can hear me, that you can see me. Everything fine? Can you just give me a thumbs up? Everything's fine.
Yes.
Wow, that's cool. Very cool. So I hope that we will have lots of people joining in today. Because we are going to talk about something cool today. And the reason for that is because we are in the business for a couple of months now as Joachim Hensch Consulting and my friends from Nexera Solutions. And what we want to share today with you is a couple of the learnings that we had. A couple of assumptions maybe also that we had that didn't make it, which is always the case. Like you have a plan and then life, reality bites. So things are different when life comes really true. For example, when we started with this, when I started here with this session here, with this webinar session, I think it was the first registrations. We had like 1,270 registrations. And I thought, oh my gosh, I have no idea what to do now. I have to get in touch with Zoom and create lots and lots of rooms. And we have to make sure that we can host so many people. And then like 160 people showed up. So that was one of my first learnings, that in digital times are noisy, they are really noisy. There's lots and lots, lots of things happening at the same time in our industry, but also in the world and in social business. And in the meantime, I've been I've been interviewed in a couple of podcasts, and I'm now frequently posting on LinkedIn, because I understood that this is actually the channel of the days to get connected to people, but also to get in discussion with people, because ultimately what we want is we want to change for the better. And that is still my mission also after these like 12 months that I'm close to 12 months that I'm in business now, after 37 years being employed. And my mission and also that of my friends that we are going to talk with, that I'm going to discuss with later on, is really to help companies on their digital transformation, to make them understand the tools of the 21st century, and not just continuing using tools from the last century, which is lean. There's nothing bad about lean. We are probably talking about that as well in this session. I just say that we have more layers that came to our minds in our professional life, and we have to work on that. And that's something that is really our mission, that we want to help companies understand this and use it. We see significant changes in the market, and you see that today we have lots of really disruptive market conditions. Just to name one, that is a very personal one, So 2019, when the pandemic hit, we were still going to Christmas markets and buying our stuff in shops. Then we had the start of the pandemic, and all of a sudden, 2020 was for many of us was a nightmare because of some, of course, personal issues, health issues. Many people lost their lives. But also what happened was that people moved instantly to digital. They just said, okay, anyways, I have to buy something. I want to buy something. I want to buy a gift. I want to buy something. So is there anyone online? And while in the beginning, the big fishes, they were winning the game in the beginning, which means like the Amazons of this time, Alibaba and others. But very fast, I saw also smaller companies, also in the region here, smaller shops opening their online stores and getting in touch with their clients, directly making direct mailing and whatsoever, and getting in touch with them saying, listen, you don't have to come to our shop, but guess what? You don't have to buy at Amazon only. We are also in this race now. We are also in the game of online. So not only that we got used to this kind of channel that we have today, like being in touch. Sometimes I'm in touch with like 5 to 7 countries and regions per day, you know, like on a frequent basis. And it is just like in a second from one country to the other. But also that our buying behavior, our market behavior as a consumer has changed profoundly. And the people, interestingly, they don't go back. What we see now is in the second Christmas time, here is that a lot of customers, they stay online. You know, we have friends here they are in retail space in this region, and they say, you know what, we still have these customers, but they don't show up. They go to our online stores. Why is this important? Because it shows that that market conditions, sometimes a crisis like a health crisis, changes market conditions. And when market conditions change, then the way how things are made have to change accordingly. Because ultimately production is about making things for the market, you know. So this is one thing that I really learned in the last 12 months, that not everything, I mean, we knew that not everything would go back, but what I didn't expect is that so many regular people, not just the digital natives, but regular people would also move into this digital space and stay there, you know, like liking it, embracing it, and using it. Which means for brands, for regular brands, the digital twin of their business, the digitalization of their business is an ongoing process, is not going back. So that's one thing. We have a different market condition, and to that we have to change accordingly when thinking about our own production fields. And the second thing that I learned in the last 10 months, and remember, I'm going to show I'm going to switch to my presentation here, and I hope that you can see this. Let me just see. Can you see my screen? Can someone give me a quick?
Not yet.
Not
You
yet.
can? Okay.
No, not yet.
Okay, let's see if I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always have the same, but we will get there. Share the screen, let's see.
Yeah, already showed.
Now I can see it.
Yes, we can see now.
Cool.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes, so that should be it. So what I always say, and that's something that have been proven in the last 12 months, definitely, is that we are just in the beginning of a very complex market and production environment. We see this more and more, that markets change, and also factories that we talk to and that we work with say, you know what, I mean, the impatience of customers is incredible. They don't want to fill their warehouses anymore, so we have more and smaller orders. So it's not really like it was before. We have more orders. There are a lot of companies really struggling because they can hardly fulfill the demand. But the demand somehow has changed in a much more, I wouldn't say chaotic, but in a more fluid way and in a more complex way. So we see that things change, and we have to kind of change accordingly. And there is something else that we learned here, is that that we need strategy. We need something to consistently work on. And before I come to that, I would like you to mark your calendar already for the next session, which will be end of January. You know, always the last, if we make it last Tuesday in the month. This time it will be January 25th, 2022, 2 p.m. CET time, same place. And we are going to talk about this in LinkedIn, of course, as well. And again, what I wanted to address here is that what we learned is really we need a strategy. We cannot just have a firefighting strategy, like saying, oh my gosh, I have so many clients now, I have to rush to kind of to hire some merchandisers. I have to rush here in production to make people cope with more complexity. Or I have a quality issue, or then let's go to the market, make some research, and then buy a quality management system or whatsoever, like software. That is something that we really, that we found out with our current clients, and that we also found out personally, like we cannot just stumble behind the situation of the market. We somehow need to bypass it and get in front of it, so that we have more assumptions of what's going on and we can react faster to that. And one thing, as I said, is really strategy, is building a digital literacy, is something that that we really did with our clients. And just to give you an update, you know that I always do this in the beginning of this webinar, and this time I want to do the same. We had a couple of nice learnings with our current clients that are in the bachelor course, and I just want to give you here a couple of details of that. So what we did is really we tried to assess who they are and what they do, and then to assess their digital maturity level, like how prepared are they for this changing digital time, for this changing digital situation. And then based on that, like who we are now and who we want to become, we started working with them on the right tools and developing this digital literacy, so that this organization is then ready for the right investments in the right technology. We did a lot of workshops. You know, I mean, we had very, very funny workshops with lots and lots of people, like literally hundreds of people. We worked with small companies, sometimes 100 people. We worked with companies with 100,000 people. And we did a couple of very interesting workshops with them, interactive workshops, all online, unbelievable, but it is like this. We did a workshop, I remember in August, we did a workshop with 200 people from Haiti to Vietnam and from Sri Lanka to Mauritius, and they were all online, and we all worked together in one place to understand who we want to become and how that will invest in our future profitability, of course, but our prosperity, like in our future success. We did workshops like this. We did a parallel workshop, and we had, as I said, we had 200 people working here in different teams, thinking about what to do and how to do that. We created so-called orbits, like really strategic approaches about what do I have to do to stay relevant in the next 3 to 5 years, and how do I have to do that, and when? Because that is probably something that most of, or many people are now thinking about, like, is this thing, like people are now talking about the metaverse, you know, LinkedIn is full of metaverse. And certainly I also have my Oculus Quest here, and I'm diving into this, and I bought a 360-degree camera, and I'm flirting with this technology. And I can tell you truly, it is great. We are going to have another session next year on that, for about 360-degree Gemba walks and how we can do that. But is it something that I really need now? And I'd say in terms of research, yes. In terms of buying something to do it and to try to implement it in your factory, no, clearly. And that is something that is important when thinking about technology. We hear so much nowadays, so many different fields of activities, and so many, how can I say, yeah, I don't want to be unpolite, but there are lots and lots of companies and providers of tools that are explaining a lot of stuff. And the question that you have to ask yourself is like, do I have to become this? Do I have to become the next SpaceX in Bangladesh or in Turkey or in Portugal or in Sri Lanka or in Pakistan or India or whatever? Probably not. You know, like understanding really what you need, what is helping you digitally, and what is maybe just funny is a big thing, is not to underestimate. And so we did a lot of these sessions with our clients, and we did a lot of very positive and funny also workshops with them. And we determined also what then, when you have this digital literacy, what you then have to do. And that is something that, that is then investing into the right technology. We understand that when we have this digital literacy and our organization is digital ready, then we can start thinking about the right investments, because investments in technology will always and only fly if the organization understands this. If the organization cannot understand this, then it's just another tool. It is just another sensor. It is just another screen. But if you have no clue about what to do cleverly and smartly with it, then it will not help you. You will have spent a lot of money, and you can burn a lot of money in digitalization, but it is not really investing in your case, in your business. So what we do here now with our current clients, and as I said, I'm frequently giving you updates with that, is here we have reached with some of the first clients, we have reached this point of thinking, okay, we understand how digitalization works. We understand who we are and who we want to become. We have learned a lot of tools. We have understood that management in digital times is different. Now what are we going to do? And we make some first pilots here, and we're thinking about really implementing technology on the shop floor and easing also white collar structures. And as I said here, I mean, these are just some numbers that we know that they work. 3 to 5% of white collar decrease and 6 to 35% efficiency gains when using digitalization smart. Now you can say, okay, 3 to 5% white collar, what does that mean? If you think about your average cost that you have in your white collar structure, not talking about the top management, let's leave the top management aside, but just like to the head of production, let's say, if you think about all these people and you think about like 3 to 5% white collar decrease and being able to handle more complexity at the same time, that's actually something that is interesting to dive into and to have a deeper look and say, wow, there's something in it, maybe that is good for me. I don't have to convince anyone about 6 to 35% efficiency gains. Even if you think like 5-10% efficiency gain is, when you're a big company, is huge. You know, this is a lot of a lot more pieces or a lot less cost. So that's something that we are right now doing with our bachelor clients and with our bachelor program. We are right now in this bring it to the floor story. And if you are interested in this, if you want to learn more about this program, because it's a 6-month program, it's not so, it's not short, it's quite intense, and it is about all your organization, then just give us, drop us an email and off you go. Again, I mean, this is an easy thing to get in touch with me via LinkedIn, or here to send me an email right away. But now, okay, let's talk about smart engineering, because smart engineering is also something that we understood, that we learned in the last 12 months, that in this digital transformation, you talk to a lot of people that have not learned about this. You know, they finished excellent universities. They did a lot of very nice textile and apparel schools all over the world. But when it comes to really like digitalization, smart engineering, like really thinking about what is the Industry 4.0 approach in my industrial engineering department, What does it mean for me when I think about these new technologies? Not so much. We learned really like engineers are a little bit like the ham and cheese, you know, in the sandwich. You have the top managers, they always push like achieving numbers. And you have the blue colors that you plan in your industrial engineering departments and that you think about when thinking about your efficiency and productivity, and you make a plan with them, which is also, I mean, you can also get, when you push these people, they consistently tell you, I'm not sure if I can do that. So we learned that this kind of middle part, these people who plan the production actually miss some knowledge, some know-how about these smart engineering fundamentals, about these smart tools in this game here. And again, we talk about, we are in 2021, we are not in 1995 or 1990, and talk about the hottest topic in town, the talk of the town, which is lean. We have another time nowadays, so we have to also adapt to these times. And today I would like to talk about that with two fellows from me, that from my side, that did this digital transformation journey in Hugo Boss Izmir with me and a lot of others. We were actually 4,000 people who did this, and that is Fatih Ekinci and Zeki Pickers. They also left corporate last year. They set up their own software company, Nexera Solutions. But they are really built, like these guys are built on the shop floor. And I'm saying this because we did a lot of projects together. We did a lot of testing and experimentation together. We use these kind of more than 60 years of combined expertise and experience to accomplish a lot of projects and a lot of revolutionary ideas. Starting from learning management platforms, layouts, introducing 3D printing in the tool set, like in the apparatus atelier, making a lot of digital experiments around speech to text and about using automatic line balancing programs. I mean, we did a lot of things, and what you see in the middle is really like setting up our new course, which is called Smart Engineering Volume 1. And so these guys, they know what they talk about, and that is something that's great, because this is something that we also learned, that when thinking about digitalization and nowadays our now time, it is important to understand how a production floor works. Yesterday, I had a conversation with a startup company in measuring, in automatic measurement tools. And I realized that, I mean, we had like we discussed half an hour, and I realized that this guy has never been on a shop floor. So he makes assumptions about how his software might be beneficial based on his IT knowledge and on his theories. But I mean, we all know this, as we have been on the shop floor, that life is not like that, you know. Life is very different when you are on the shop floor, when you talk to people, when you are in the production somewhere on this planet. It is not the same. It is very different, and we have to respect that. And that is what these fellows do. And today I would like to talk with them about smart engineering. And I don't know, Zeki, do you want to share your screen, or who is doing that? Like Fatih, Zeki, who is sharing the presentation?
Yeah, I was just sharing the presentation. Okay, Fatih, is it okay for you?
Yes. Hi, Zeki.
Hello, by the way, and thanks for the introduction.
Yes, greetings to Turkey.
Yeah.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah, again, thanks for the introduction, Josh. What's our advantage?
Can you move the participants part? I guess this. Okay, this is only.
Yeah, when you talk about the history, I just realized that what is our advantage, especially in this digital transformation journey. As you said, we all started our career in the Hugo Boss like a production engineer. in the shop floor, making the engineering processes with the shop floor people. And for many years, we worked hard at this stage. And then what is the advantage for us? We switched, both Zeki and me, switched to IT side from the shop floor engineering processes. So during this engineering journey in our shop floor, in our career, we learned what is the need, essential need and essential piece for engineering processes. And then when we see the concept or the content of these Industry 4.0 and digital transformation, which we started more than 5 years ago, then we have an advantage. We had an advantage to combine these potential needs and essentials that we need in engineering with the digital transformation tools. And before this webinar, we thought with Zeki and with some of our friends, what we saw, especially in the companies in apparel industry, there are lots of perfect engineering processes. There are lots of brilliant engineers are working on these processes in the companies. But still we have some headache, we have some bottlenecks in these engineering processes. And maybe the most important one that we face in our companies is we made lots of great plans before season, during the season, during the production, before production, like line balancing, skill management, production planning, etc. We make brilliant plans on Excel, on some softwares, on ERP, etc. But as we didn't combine these plans with some outputs, with some actualization results from the shop floor, we couldn't easily see the accuracy level of our plans. For example, we make a line balancing, a perfect line balancing. Our line balancing loss ratio is maybe less than 5%, but we don't know what is the accuracy level of these preparations in Excel or in the system or in the paper. We give these line balancing results to the production, and the production managers take this paper, checks it, maybe make some small change on this paper. But when they start the production in their daily life, they most of the time forget this paper, forget the plan, and start to make his or her own chess movements during the production, because production is so rapid, so agile, so they need to take some very instant actions to get the good results. So these papers, these plans is not so more important in the production for them. But we need something to check what is the accuracy level of our plans. And that will give us an insight to make next time, to make a correct and more better and accurate plan for the related shop floor area. It's all about managing our resources like machine, people, material, product, etc. These are all resources. And it's all about the accuracy level of these plans related with the resources. Also, another big pain point in the industry is the lack of especially the root cause analysis. As you cannot.
By the way, just 1 second, Fatih. If any one of you have questions, then please put them in the chat. We are going to have a Q&A session later on about the topic, and then we can just work on that.
Yeah. Yeah, the root cause analysis, another big headache in our industry, because as we cannot measure the results, the accuracy result of our plans for any resources, we cannot easily make the root cause analysis. what was the reason for our plan to fail in the production. Not totally, maybe in some parts are fail, but we don't know the detail, we don't know the reason, so we cannot make some root cause analysis which we use in every process during our production life. One other issue is especially related with the technology side. We have got lots of resources on make these daily plans. Like, as I said, you have got plenty of machines or not plenty of machines. You have got a very limited number of machines. You have got employees, you have got material, and you have got an area to plan, to make your production. But these resources are not connected within some new technological tools. You have got employees, but you don't know their skill level when you are making your line balancing processes. Or you know their skill level, but as this information is not stored in a digital system or a digital way, you always make your actions according to your experience or according to your cell leaders or the production leaders' experience. But with the Industry 4.0, you know, we are always talking about connecting the dots. Each of these resources are our dots in our processes. So we need to connect them without any human interaction, without some systems, without some algorithms, with some rules, etc. So this is another headache in our industry about the engineering processes. And one other issue that we can talk is the lack of confidence about the planning side. Maybe you understand what I mean. In the office, there are some engineers, and in the production, there are production people, cell leaders, a very talented and old employee who you assign as a cell leader, etc. And they are not so talented in the engineering processes, as we are not so talented in the production processes. So you need to get the confidence of these people, especially in the shop floor people, against planning side, against the engineering processes. We faced lots of times in our professional career, in our previous career, we make the planning, and we work very hard on the line balancing or skill plans or the seasonal plans. And when we take this plan to the production, to the cell leader, he checks it. No, this will not work in the production. So you start to make some negotiation with the people, and the cell leader says, "Oh, this engineer don't know anything about the production. So okay, I will take it, but they will not use this plan in the production anymore." So we need to create a confidence between the engineering processes and these production people in the shop floor. And what is the potential point to create this confidence is creating an more accurate plans. Because when the production people see your plans and its accuracy level is 50% in the production, so we cannot no more talk about the confidence side between these two profiles. So another thing about these headaches is also the unchangeable taboos. Especially in the old companies, the engineering processes are created maybe tens of years ago with the current structure at that time. And these engineering processes is not so much change during the new technological implementations, new technological potentials, and these are all taboos in the company. Like, this is our skill management process. We started this skill management process 15 years ago, and we still use this skill management process, and we don't see any need to make a change or to make a radical change in this process. So this is a potential risk and a headache in the companies about these taboos. The company that we are working now, we have got lots of different companies in the parallel that we are working as a software side or as a consultancy side. We see lots of people, especially in the manager level, because these manager level positions were the engineers of 10 years ago. So they built this structure in the company. So they see their structure, this engineering structure, as their babies, as their children. So they don't want any people to disturb this structure that they built in the company lots of years ago. So that's another biggest pain point in our industry about the engineering side. And we see the classical methods or the regular methods that we are using in the engineering processes, which some of them is maybe 100 years old. We need to change them radically, not running with our old engineering stuff, old engineering processes. And each and every different process, as Zeki will mention in the next minutes, we have a potential to improve with the technological stuff or with the technological tool which comes our life some years ago, especially with the industry 4.0 side, 4.0. So now we want to share especially with you what are the potential processes that we are running during our engineering process, and which we can improve with this smart engineering, with these new technologies in our companies. Now, please, Zeki.
Thank you, Fatih. Okay, then.
Just to say something about quickly, I mean, we are rising. You have started to ask questions, which is great. We are going to summarize them and work on them at the end of this presentation. So don't be surprised when we are not answering right now, because first we want to run you through our ideas, and then we sum up the questions, and because they are very good ones already here, and then we are going to them later on. Thank you, Zeki.
Thank you. So what Fatih just explained, I mean, those bottlenecks actually became the input for our smart engineering content. So we created what I will mention right now, a kind of processes that all the companies have, but the most important thing in here, how you can combine it with your new tools and how you can upgrade it. So by considering that, we create our structure. And let me share the structure with you, what we will touch in these modules with you. For instance, operations. Yes, we all know that every company has a kind of operation structure. And in that module, what we will not go into detail, we will not go into detail of what does operation mean, because this is a kind of information that you can find in any kind of literature or any kind of videos or any kind of tutorials. But what we will go into deeply, how you should create your operation pool, for instance, and how you can create your model flow, and how you can combine it in order to create a kind of VSM that you can create in just seconds, and how you can combine it with some 3D applications in order to create a kind of structured way, like optimizing your operation creation processes, like going into deep dive of correct way of using it in operations, in your production, and etc. So this will be one of our most important steps in our module that we will go into deep dive by using our experiences and also all our knowledge. Another story, and also which is really important in the industry, is line balancing. Yes, we have made like hundreds of assessments with different kinds of companies, and almost all of them has a kind of line balancing structure. It may be like Yamazumi technique, or it may be like classical assembly line montage, assembly line techniques. I can say over 90% of the companies have this kind of structure. So the bottleneck in here, how efficiently you are combining your line balancing processes, for instance, with your machine plannings, like how agile you are by combining your machine information and, for instance, your competencies, your skill matrices with your line balancing. If you spend like more than one day or a couple of days in order to create one line balancing, that means that yes, you have a kind of line balancing structure, but you need to upgrade it in order to be agile. So what we will touch in this session, we will go into deep dive how you can turn it into agile way, like how you can create your cell-based production, how you can create your segment-based production, how you can turn it into agile way, and how you can upgrade it, how you can upgrade your engineers by creating not line balancing, but smart line balancing. This will be one of our topic that we will mention in a detailed way. So another step, of course, machine layouts. Again, every production companies has a kind of machine layout structure. It depends with respect to your layout designs, but everyone has a kind of structure. But the most important step in here, how agile you are by creating your machine layout. For instance, when you are about to set up a kind of new line, are you able to create that line's machine layout like in minutes or hours? This is one of the most important steps. And how you can combine it with your line balancing structure, and how you can combine it with your other tools like operator counts and etc. Actually, what I mean in here, combining them with pre-steps and post-steps. And another step, of course, related with it, competency management, that we will go into really deep dive, like how to manage line fulfillments with respect to dynamic competency management, how to build an efficient skill management structure, and how you can manage it, how you can combine it, integrate it with your machine layouts, with your machine planning, and also with your line balancing. Yes, in companies, we see that they got a kind of systems that are separately working from each other, like a proper line balancing working, and machine planning is a kind of working in one step, and also competency management. But when we talk about integrating between these modules, then there is the problem. Because in order to create a kind of proper smart engineering concept, then you should actually concentrate not upgrading these know-how terminologies, but integrating them as together. So this is what we will focus.
Yeah, I just want to add here, that's an interesting thing that we always hear when talking to our clients, but also when talking to other friends or just regular conversations on LinkedIn, is that this kind of competency management in our industry is still very retrospective. You know, like, I mean, people quit and then you think like, oh my gosh, Ziggy has left the company, who can do it? you know. So that's interesting that still, although our industry is so people heavy, yeah, the apparel industry is one of the most people heavy industries in the world. But still we have this idea like, well, we work with what we have, and when someone leaves, then we look around and try to find someone. Which, when you have a basic operation, is a no-brainer. You know, someone is working on an half automated machine, gets a 1 hour or 2 hours training, off you go. But we have very different operations in our industry, you know, and I know by myself, as I started as a tailor, attaching the sleeve in a jacket, for example, in a classical jacket, is a nightmare for someone who has never done it. To deal with the fullness of the fabric and deal with all this so that it actually looks nice, especially when you work with check fabrics or something like that, is really not so easy. It's not something that you can just make a little bit of training and off you go in efficiency or even in high efficiency. So this kind of competency management, understanding who you have and who you need, and how does this actually work closely together with the rest of your planning activities, is a very interesting topic that we are going to talk about that later on as well, because Ziki is just mentioning here about all the modules of this smart engineering activities and course that we are going to explain later on. But this is something that I don't know if you have the same. Maybe you give me some comments here in the chat box about how do you have really like a competency management in place that is not reactive but proactive, or even real time would be nice. Please, Zeki, go ahead.
Yeah, and one more add for that issue. Competency management is not only related with blue collar employees, but it is also related with white collar employees. For instance, in one of our modules that we also go into details in our lesson, operation creation processes. Most of the companies are really dependent of some specialists on this process. Yes, there are some special people there, and they are really able to create operations with the experiences. But when we ask that, if you don't have her or him, what you will do, how you could be able to create your operations, your new operations. So this is one of the bottlenecks that we face in most of the companies. So let's continue with the contents. For instance, another step that we go into detail, model changeovers. We really would like to add this concept as a kind of whole lesson in our module, because almost each and every company, we see a kind of different style in model changeovers. Like some of the companies have ramp ups, some of them has ramp up and ramp downs, or some of them has just ramp downs. So we face really different combinations in this model changeover story. That is why we separated a kind of whole session for this topic, and what we will go into detail of this topic, like what is the right way of applying ramp ups, like how you should use it in your production, and how you should create a proper curve logic, and how you can integrate it with your performance and key performance indicators, and how you can go through your smart model changeover matrix. Because nowadays, none of us is working with 100,000 of pieces. The order pieces are getting decreasing, and that is why this topic, it was not a kind of big step, big bottleneck previously, but now we are really facing it in the companies, having really low efficiencies in these model changeovers. That is why we separated a whole session for that topic, like how we can create a smart model changeover structure and what you should do by doing that. And related with it, of course, seasonal preparations. Actually, it is a kind of planning step, and what we will go into deep dive in this step, we will go into deeply like creating module families first, because yes, you can work like even one model for the whole year, or you can work 1,000 different types of models. But in both cases, you need to have a kind of proper module family structure. So what we will do in this session, we will work on how you can create your module family structure, like creating different line structures, different scenarios, including your absenteeism scenarios, and integrating it with your machine planning, and how you can combine it with your competencies, with your seasonal preparation. This is what we will touch in these seasonal preparations. Another bottleneck, actually, we always call them a kind of bottleneck, creating incentive systems. Because we face in most of the companies, yes, they have a kind of incentive systems, but the employees at those companies generally consider that it is a kind of system that is not so fair. So the question is how you can create a fair incentive system, and how you can turn it into a kind of game for your organization, like how you can integrate it with your Kaizen process, with your bonus systems, how you can integrate it with your skill managements, like how to create a transparent and fair bonus system, and a kind of system that you will not spend hours on it, but you can handle it like in minutes by considering it. So this will be our way of creating smart incentive systems in the organization. Also, cutting room side. Actually, in cutting room division, there is no many experienced processes in the companies, because all the processes are really different in cutting room when we compare it with saving lines. Unit time structures are different, cutter dynamics are different. The machines that you work are all different when we compare it with saving lines. So what we will go in this cutting room session, we will go into deep dive of unit time structure, how you can create your unit time structure, what are the correct performance indicators that you can use in cutting room, and what are the key performance indicators that we will use, how you can create a kind of different seasonal preparation in the cutting room, and how you can calculate your cutter performances, what is the right way to track it as a kind of indicator, and combining it with your all other modules. And this is really important because this is the starting point of the process in these plants. And if you have a kind of structured cutting room, then that means that you can start your processes in a smart and efficient way. That is why there will be many points that we will touch in this cutting room sessions, including unit time structures, cutter performances, and all other steps. Of course, you should better explain actually the idea, the concepts behind this digital lean factory, but I will just mention what will be our parts in the smart engineering. We will actually try to combine it being smart and lean. We always support that. So that is why we will go like, what does digital lean mean? What kind of A3 improvements, classical A3 improvements you can implement in your organization, and how you can turn it into smart ways. Like you can apply a kind of Kanban system in your organization, but how you can do it a kind of digital Kanban in your organization. Yes, you can apply like 5S logic in the organization, Six Sigmas, AQS, or different kind of systems. But the idea that we will touch in this module, how you can do it in a smart way. For instance, I will give one example, value stream mapping. all the organizations are trying to go into detail of these concepts, creating value stream maps. But when we go deep dive of that process, we always see that they're handling these processes not in minutes, but in days. And by applying that, the bottlenecks that they will find in these value stream maps are disappears. So the most important step, how you can be agile by combining all these different modules in order to create a kind of classic lean VSM, but not in days, but in minutes. So these will be the potential topics that we touch in this lean management module.
This is
So,
just to add on that here, Zeki, because you touched this digital lean factory, and of course, I mean, every factory that has started in the last, say, 100 years, they sooner or later were confronted with shortages of resources, and therefore they were flirting with the concept of lean, because lean is basically nothing else than doing more with the same, or doing the same with less. But better is doing more with the same, and avoiding waste. And this digital lean management is another interesting concept, because you just touched this. Like we sometimes we work with clients that say, they tell us, okay, we do VSMs, value stream mapping, but it is actually a lot of time. It is actually quite complicated to do that, to get the informations ready, to work on them, to summarize this. So the first thing from being a lean factory into a digital lean factory is actually coming from retrospective to real time. Like, how can you do this as fast as possible, close to real time? That's the best. And of course, the digital lean factory then in the future is then even going further, which means like when you have so many informations available, that's what we think about when we think about smart factory concepts. Then you have so many informations available that you can start making simulations, and the algorithms and the simulations tell you what you should physically do, because it is proven and it is simulated so well that the let's say the real world follows the digital one. But as we honestly, I mean, we see lots of companies who are in the first part. Some even don't do this VSM often, sometimes maybe just 1 or 2 times a year even. Some do it quite more often, but it is always like a painful story. Lots of things manually gathered together, and so it takes them quite a long time to identify hiccups here. So the first part is then really going into real time and then moving further. That's what I would like to add here, Zeki, to your story. You have stopped sharing the screen. Yeah.
One additional thing that I want to add, because engineering processes, as you mentioned, we made tons of different assessment to the companies, and we see that engineering is an input for an successful digital transformation project. First of all, you need to change, or you need to adapt your current engineering processes before you start to buy some softwares, etc. Because when you buy a software, and if your engineering fundamentals or in the engineering structure is not ready, is not so mature enough, so you always listen the rules of the software, which is not maybe so beneficial for your company. So there's a loop there. Smart engineering processes is an input for the digital transformation journey, for the digital transformation projects, but also digital transformation tools accelerate your smart engineering processes to transform them to the smart engineering processes. You know the digital twin concept, your resources. It's all about to increase the utilization rate of your resources, even if it's a fabric, an employee, a machine, an area, doesn't matter. So we always focus, and we always tell the companies to focus on prepare your engineering processes to accelerate your digital transformation journey. And with the digital transformations, issues, tools, and projects, turn back again to your engineering processes and start to adapt them to the new age or new technologies with data analysis, big data, artificial intelligence, which are the latest later steps of this digital transformation journey. So we always focus and we always advise the companies not to start digital transformation projects or digital transformation journey before they need to look at their engineering processes very well if it is more enough and major for the next steps. That's what I mentioned.
Exactly. So what we understand here when working with more and more different companies who are on their way to digitally transform is that that on one hand we have to build this kind of digital literacy, which means like we are talking about education here, education part, and this is also what this upcoming program here, this smart engineering, is about. It's about educating people to do their job better because with new tools. And then turning this into the right activities to capture the right information, to then work with this information and make a better management of the physical factory, ultimately. And that turns into better informations in real time, and that turns into better simulations. And that closes the circle of this digital twin story, which means like we have one digital factory, we have one physical factory, and they seamlessly influence each other. They call it in the digital twin concept, they call it digital shadow. So the physical factory is creating digital shadows of what they do, and the digital factory is creating digital triggers for the physical part to move into the right direction. Now, as I said, we have put this into, we understood that we have to somehow smart up people, especially engineers and industrial engineering departments, because they have such a central role in these planning areas, so that we have condensed all this into a 10 weeks course. And we did this because we believe that before even moving into whatever direction, it makes sense to upgrade these people so that they can at the next day start really doing things differently, thinking differently, planning differently, acting differently. And we have put this into like a 10 weeks online course on a learning management platform, where we put all these know-hows and all these different areas and modules that you just that Zeki just explained about all the dependencies on this into a 10 weeks online course. Why is it online? Very simple, because we live in digital times and we talk about digital, and we live in very different regions of the world. And therefore we want to continue on digital engineering education as we do with the bachelor course, so that people can learn in their pace, at home, and on the weekends, during their working hours, as they wish. So this is an online course. This is an online course. It has weekly sessions. It has lots of homework. There are assessments to make. So this is a very practical approach. It is not so much like academia thinking about theoretical topics. This course is really meant for people who are on the job and doing something. So they literally use their line balancings they do every day, or they use their plannings, model changeover plannings or whatsoever, and combine them with new ideas and new knowledge, and then making something better. And there will be lots of online assessments and homeworks to actually double check that, quizzes to think about, did I really understand what these guys are telling me, and how can I put this into my next day's job, into my next day's outcomes. It will be a cohort-based training. Why did we choose for that? It will be maximum 15 seats. So there will be maximum 15 seats, people, companies working together, because we want to create also a little bit of a best practice feeling, so that that this group of people can also talk about their topics, their hiccups, their challenges, and can influence each other. Because ultimately we want to, as I said, our mission is to upgrade our industry. So we want to reach as many companies and organizations, and therefore as many people as possible. So there will be cohort-based training, and one seat. People always say like, how can I do that? Is this just for me? No, it is not just for you. When you are an industrial engineer in a mid-size or a big company or a small company, then you can do this course together with your colleagues. You can invite your friends and do this course together, because what we want is organizations to do things differently, not just people doing things differently, organizations to do things differently. And therefore a seat can be a person if you want to upgrade your personal know-how and you say, I want to upgrade my expert knowledge, or you say, no, wait a minute, I'm an organization. I want to have a better planning as a factory, for example, and I will join in and register for this course so that I can do a better planning the next day or the next week. Yeah, so that's why we call seats, and we don't call it people. And we have also companies where, you know, we work with companies, they have like WhatsApp groups of like 65 people. And whenever they learn something, they immediately start texting and sharing their knowledge. So they spread the word so that the organization can learn more about this and can work with this information. It will start, the first cohort will start on January 22nd, midnight. Then the first content is online on this platform, and you guess what? You can register today, and you can start registering now for this if you like. Everything is prepared, so that is not a problem. But the course will definitely start January 22nd. And we were talking about, of course, we were talking about price, you know. But then when you talk about price, then you always talk about what is education, what's the value of education. And we were thinking not about price, we were thinking about like value. So if you are an expert in planning department, and if you do a better planning, if you do a better line balancing, then it has an immediate impact on your organization. You will feel immediately that you make more use of your resources that you have than you did before. And therefore, we thought about something that is really achievable for small and medium-sized companies, not just for the big fishes who always go for the McKinseys of the world and try to do something which is then 5, 6 digit and 7 digit even. And we said it's going to be 2,900 euros per seat, which means like when you're an organization like a 300 people factory and you start using this course material the very next day, then this is a piece of cake, and it will be paid back probably in the first week. But it's getting even better. As you always know, first movers have an advantage, we call it the unfair advantage. First movers have the advantage to be the first, not only that they can use it first, but also that they can have a rebate. So we are going to offer a 20% rebate for the first 15 registrations on this course. That will be the first cohort. So the complete first cohort will have this 20% off in terms of the cost. But of course, we'll have the same course material. So it's not like a light version or something like that. Don't worry, you will have the full access to all the details and all the informations that you need. Now you might say, okay, so how can I register? There are a couple of different ways to register. One is that you can go right away to the chat now, and there is one link which is called course.digitalleanfactory.com, Joachim Hensch, and there you will find the Smart Engineering course, and you can right away register and go for this. Then there is the easier way is then to and not the easier way. This is the easiest way. But also what you can do is you can send us an email to move@joachimhensch.com, and then we can do the registration with you together. We can we can run you through this process, but it's basically easy as buying something on Amazon. We understand that technology has to be easy. And that is also something that you might have learned from your side in factories, that when you want to do something that is technically complicated, then people will not follow. And the same we think about here. We try to make it as easy as possible. So with that, I would like to come to an end here and then move to the Q&A session. And we leave this here for a moment. And then let's go for the questions that we had. Let me see. So there was one question in the beginning, which was, yeah.
Do you do line balancing for a target, that is number of garments per hour, or for available workstations?
Yes, for example.
That is, I guess, the first question.
Yes.
Yeah. So, we don't have a certain rule. It depends on your model families, product families. You can create the line balancing according to a target because of your shipment plans, etc. But you can create the line balancing with the optimized employees for the related product family, product model. So there is no certain rule. For a t-shirt, maybe 20 people working with 20 people is more optimized than working with 15 people. So the engineers needs to find the answer with this question. But as I said, there is no certain rule. And another question is, what is the key difference in your software and already established planning softwares like Fast Track, Forini, Machine Queue Management? First of all, today we always try to mention about the smart engineering processes, not with the softwares. Software will be the second part after we complete the smart engineering side. But the softwares that you wrote, for example, the Fast Track is a production planning, the capacity planning software. It's not related with the line balancing side. But successful line balancing software, we believe, needs an integration with machine software, with competency software, with employee, with ERP. All the softwares needs to talk to each other without any human interaction. Another one is Mr. Danish Wazir. Oh, thanks, Mr. Ganesan. You gave the answer also.
By the way, sorry, before we move to Noman, for the first movers, there is something like you will need a code for the 20% rebate for the first 15. So it's called First Mover 20, which is the coupon that you can enter into the platform when you register. And when the 15 are full, you cannot use the code anymore. So for the first ones, First Mover 20, you can use the code, and when 15 are full, then that was it. Please go ahead.
Okay. Another question is related with the skill side. How does it go to the skill level of all operators individually? Yeah, this is the key point, because especially lots of companies in apparel industry, we just track the operators' skill in machine-based. This operator is well skilled in single machine. This operator is well skilled in overlock operations, etc. But that's not what we want. We need to understand the operators individually, each and every operator's skill level in operation based, not just in machine side, because in machine you have several different operations, and the new products are becoming more complex and complex. The machine know-how is not enough to separate two operators between each other in a fair way, especially for the incentive systems. How is the difference between the traditional engineering process and this new smart engineering process in terms of productivity and quality of the products? Yes, the main difference is the traditional engineering processes, it always focuses on making that processes, preparing these plans. But smart engineering processes mostly focuses on the results and the accuracy levels and how to improve these accuracy of the plans. And what is the methodology to increase these production plan accuracy, shipment plan accuracy, line balancing accuracy, incentive systems accuracy. And with the increase of these accuracy, what is the potential inputs for the increase of total company's productivity and accuracy? So we always focus in smart engineering to increase the accuracy level of engineering process with the new tools of technology. Is machine layout not just output of the line balancing? Yes, in some words, yes, it will be the output of the line balancing, but you know, there are lots of different layout types like Z layout, S layout, U layout, and as we do in Hugo Boss in previous years, a layout which you cannot name with a letter, because it's like a spaghetti. So yeah, it depends on the line balancing, but you know, in the layout, the aim is to reduce the carry of the products, and the aim is to reduce the non-value added activities related with the layout side. So it's not just the output of the line balancing. Please share the entire recorded video.
Yes,
Okay,
we do this.
It.
We are going to share this with all the registered people. I mean, we have some people had to leave, of course. We are already close to 120 online. So of course, everyone will get the link for this session here.
Another comment is the input for line balancing is SME of operations. Skill metrics does not influence line balancing, but helps in identifying labor for operations. Am I right? Yeah, the SME is the major input of the line balancing. Also, the sequence of the operations is another input for the line balancing. But skill metrics is maybe the most indispensable input of the line balancing, because if you, for example, create a line balancing and you need 1.3 employees for attaching the color, but you don't have more than one operation in the related production line for the attaching the color. So this is a very indispensable or valuable input for the line balancing process. Again, the machine, it's same. You can make a line balancing with a need of 1.3 special machine, but you have got just one. So you need to make an overtime, or you need to make some safety inventories in the production, or you need to reduce your count. So not the SMV is the only input of the line balancing process. Do you have any experience with factories in Portugal?
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. Yes, I mean, I don't know if E. Kulke is still here, but yes, we have. And what we learned from the Portuguese factories, for example, is that they are rather smaller. Oops. So what we learned is that these factories are rather small, you know. So these are not when you go to Bangladesh, when you go to Pakistan, when you go to India, you find factories with like 10,000 people, and then you go to Portugal, and then you find factories with like 20, 100, 200, 300 is already a big factory in Portugal. So but interestingly is the thing is not very different here. We have orders, we have to make a plan, we have to work with skill levels, no matter if we have 10,000 employees or we have 100 employees. Sometimes it's even more complicated if you have a small amount of people to handle them, and especially when we think about preparation of skill levels for all your employees for the future in case someone leaves. For small companies can be a nightmare. If you have an expert leaving all of a sudden, then he or she was the only one, for example, and then you have a real problem. So yes, we work with these companies as well. Different approach, also digitalization, like you don't need the same technology as you might need when you are a jeans factory with like 10,000 people, but definitely they have also a lot of potential to improve. Yes, so we had another
last two comments. I would like to belong to denim industry. Is it all limited to sewing or only, or it contains washing limitation as well? Some of the topics, some of the content, as Zeki mentioned, is not just related with the CV side. For example, the competency management, the SME calculation, and line balancing. Yes, we know, especially in the washing side, the line balancing is depend on the machine, not the employee, because you have one employee which is working with several different washing machines. But some of the tools like cutting room planning is not so related with the washing side. As far as I have seen, only 5% of companies maintain skill metrics. Yes, we also share this number.
Yes, and to Varun, Sanadia, I know that I'm happy that you're there because I know how passionate you are also with your initiatives that you do in your region to really upgrade the apparel industry and to make the industry smarter. It is really needed, and you're absolutely right. I mean, you touch one point which is very interesting. Like you say, you rightly say, this is typically done by people in their heads. You know, I mean, they have like the supervisors or the planning people. They know, okay, these are my 20 people, and I have pretty much know how to plan them. The thing is, if you have a company with like 10,000 people, you know you're 20, and maybe you know also another 20 from left and right, but you definitely not know the rest, not what's going on in another plant, in another shift, in another area of the field and whatsoever. And what digitalization does is it creates a digital copy of everyone and everything. And therefore, the planning of skills on a group level, or let's say on a factory level, on a company level, is way more efficient when you think about training activities, when you think about placement of people, the right people with the right quality, with the right efficiency, by the way, putting them into your line balancing exercises is way more efficient than just thinking about what you have in your head. We are limited, you know. It's like this, you know, we cannot memorize the experience of 1,000 people left and right. We cannot, but a system can. And that's a big difference between being physical and being digital. So yeah, I think this is the last question. I mean, if we have, sorry, Fatih.
Last question.
Yeah.
The comment that Sanadia made.
Yes, great. So I guess if we have not more questions or not people raising their hands wanting to say something, then I guess this is it for today. We have ended our Q&A session again. First off, thank you to the 21 people who remained 1.5 hours here. I know this is not planned. It is not so easy. Sometimes theoretical stuff, sometimes we don't understand immediately what's going on, but it's great that you made it until the end. Of course, this time this course is recorded. We are going to send the link to everyone who has registered on LinkedIn. There were like 380 people. We had about 55 or so being online, which is rather normal. So I'm very happy about that. And with that, we come to the very end. First up, thank you very much, Fatih and Zeki, for your explanations. I really admire your knowledge, and I'm really happy that you could transfer this, because I know that this, I mean, engineering stuff can sometimes be boring, honestly speaking. It's not like we are not in the show business, and it's great that that you nevertheless made it to explain it as best as possible. And to all the participants and all the ones that have been live here and the ones that watch the recording session, I wish everyone a very nice ending of this year. It was another year of really lots of challenges and lots of problems and lots of solving activities. I think we all learned again a lot of things, and what we learned is to deal more with uncertainty, and to understand more that life is getting more and more unpredictable, and we cannot get out of this. We have to deal with it, and we have to prepare for this. And with that, I wish everyone a very nice ending of this year. For the Christians here, a very nice Christmas time. For the others, enjoy the rest of the year. And then I hope I see every one of you in the next year. Some of you, I'm sure I will see in the course, and we will talk about your challenges. Some of you, maybe not. Maybe next year we can convince you to jump on the train of digital transformation. And we are going to see each other latest by the end of January 25th, and talk about another topic in terms of the digital lean factory and the digital transformation as such.